I've lived 70 years on this earth, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's that the phone never rings with good news after 9 o'clock at night. My wife Eleanor, God rest her soul, used to say the same thing. Harold, she'd tell me, tapping her watch, nothing good comes through that receiver once the sun goes down. She passed 3 years ago. Took a piece of my heart with her, but her voice still echoes in my head at the strangest moment's dot was a Tuesday. October 14th, to be precise. I remember because I just finished watching the evening news and was settling into my recliner with a cup of chamomile tea decaf. Because my doctor says my heart needs the rest even if my mind doesn't. The house was quiet. Too quiet, really, the way it's been since Eleanor left me alone in these four walls. My daughter Christine calls it peaceful. I call it lonely. But that's neither here nor there. The phone rang at 9:47 p.m. Stared at the screen. Unknown number. My first instinct was to ignore it. These days, every other call is some scammer from overseas trying to sell me an extended car warranty or convince me the IRS is about to arrest me. I'm 70, not stupid, but something made me answer. Call it instinct. Call it fate. Call it an old man's foolish curiosity. Hello. I said, my voice rougher than I intended. There was silence on the other end. Not dead silence. I could hear breathing, soft and uneven, like someone working up the courage to speak. I was about to hang up when a woman's voice cut through. Mr. Whitmore? Harold Whitmore? I sat up straighter. She knew my name. Who's asking? You don't know me, she said. Her voice was young, maybe mid-30s, and there was a tremor in it. Fear, maybe, or guilt. But I know your daughter, Christine, and I know her husband, Derek. My blood went cold. Christine is my only child, my pride and joy, the reason I get up in the morning. She's 42 now. Married to Derek Ashford for 15 years, mother to my 2 grandsons, Lucas and baby Ethan. When Eleanor died, Christine held me together. She's the best of me and her mother combined. And Derek, well, I'll admit I was skeptical when she first brought him home 20 years ago. He was too smooth, too polished, with that salesman smile and those expensive shoes. But he proved me wrong. Or so I thought. What about them? I asked carefully. The woman took a shaky breath. I'm calling because someone has to. Because your daughter deserves to know the truth, and she's not going to hear it from him. Ma'am, I don't know what you're talking about. If this is some kind of prank, it's not a prank, Mr. Whitmore. Her voice hardened. I was Derek's mistress for 4 years. 4 years. And I'm not the only one. The words hit me like a punch to the chest. I gripped the armrest of my recliner so hard my knuckles went white. The room seemed to tilt sideways. You're lying, I said automatically. I wish I was. She laughed bitterly. I wish I was some crazy woman making things up. But I have proof. Texts, emails, hotel receipts. I have a photograph of us in Cancun the same week he told Christine he was at a conference in Denver. I have 4 years of my life wasted on a man who promised he'd leave her and never did. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up completely. I'm not calling to hurt you or your daughter, she continued. I'm calling because last month I found out he's been seeing someone else. A 26-year-old receptionist at his firm. 4 years I gave him, and he tossed me aside like garbage. So now I'm done protecting his secrets. My hand was trembling. The teacup rattled against the saucer. Why me? I finally managed. Why not tell Christine directly? Because I'm a coward, she admitted. And because I know what it's like to hear something like this. She'll need someone in her corner. Someone who loves her. I figured a father would know what to do. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to call her a liar, a homewrecker, a bitter woman scorned. But something in her voice, something broken and tired, told me she wasn't making this up. No one invents this kind of pain. What's your name? I asked. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. She hesitated. Rachel. My name is Rachel Vance. I worked at Pemberton and Associates. Same firm as Derek. The accounting firm. Derek's firm. The one he'd been with for 18 years. The one that made him a partner 5 years ago. The one that paid for my grandson's private school and Christine's SUV and that ridiculous lake house they bought last summer. I'll text you some proof, Rachel said. Look at it. Don't look at it. That's your choice. But your daughter deserves better than him, Mr. Whitmore. She deserves someone who actually loves her. The line went dead. I sat there in the darkness. The phone still pressed to my ear, listening to nothing. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my temples. 70 years old, and I thought I'd seen everything war. Loss, betrayal in business, friends who turned out to be enemies. But this, my Christine? My little girl who used to sit on my lap and ask me to read her stories about princesses and happy endings? The phone buzzed. One text message. Then another. Then a photograph. I didn't want to look. I told myself not to look. But I looked, and there was Derek, my son-in-law, father of my grandchildren, the man who'd sat at my Thanksgiving table for 15 years with his arm around a woman who wasn't my daughter. They were on a beach, drinks in hand, smiling like they didn't have a care in the world. The timestamp read March 2021. March 2021. The Denver. Conference dot. I set the phone down slowly. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Somewhere in the house, a clock ticked. Eleanor's old grandfather clock, the one she'd inherited from her mother. It had measured out 60 years of our marriage, and now it measured out the silence of betrayal that my daughter didn't know. My sweet, trusting Christine had no idea that her husband had been lying to her face for years. She thought she had the perfect life, the successful husband, the beautiful children, the house with the white picket fence. She thought she was happy. And now I had to decide, do I let her keep that happiness, even if it's built on lies? Or do I tear it all down with the truth? I didn't sleep that night. Not a single minute. By 5 a.m., I was at my kitchen table with a pot of coffee and a legal pad. Old habits die hard. I spent 43 years as a certified public accountant. And when you've spent that long following the money, you learn that the truth always hides in the numbers. People lie. Receipts don't. I started with what I knew. Derek was a partner at Pemberton and Associates. His base salary was somewhere around $340,000. With bonuses, he probably cleared close to $500,000 annually. They had the house in Worthington, 2 cars, the lake house, 2 kids in private school. I wrote it all down. Assets on one side, expenses on the other. What bothered me was what I was looking for. The gaps. The places where money disappeared without explanation. Around 7 a.m., my phone buzzed. Another text from Rachel Vance. "Did you look at what I sent?" I typed back, "Yes, I need more." "Everything you have." Dates, locations, expenses. 5 minutes later, an email arrived with 3 attachments. Hotel receipts from the Marriott, downtown, 14 separate stays over 3 years. Credit card statements showing purchases at jewelry stores, lingerie shops, upscale restaurants. And a photograph of a handwritten note. "To my Rachel, my heart, my future. Soon, D, my future." The words burned into my retinas. But here's what got me. What made my accountant's brain light up. The credit card statements weren't from any card I'd seen Derek use. I'd helped Christine with their taxes 3 years ago, and I remembered their accounts. This card, ending in 4,471, was something else entirely. A hidden account. A secret life, funded by secret money. I called my old colleague, Martin Schiffer. Marty and I had worked together for over 20 years. He was 74 now, still sharp, and he owed me a favor. "Harold," he answered, "it's 7:30 in the morning. Someone better be dead." "Not yet," I said grimly, "but I need your help with something delicate." I explained the situation. Marty listened without interrupting. When I finished, he let out a long whistle. Derek Ashford. I know the name. Slicked eye. Too many teeth in his smile. That's him. And I need to know where he's hiding the money. "Could be a dozen places," Marty said. "Separate bank account under a name variation. LLC registered in Delaware. Or, does he have any family money? Inheritances?" Derek's father had passed away about 8 years ago. I remembered the funeral somber affair. Derek had mentioned an inheritance, but he'd been vague about the amount. "There might have been an inheritance," I told Marty. "That's your starting point. Inheritance money is easy to hide because it doesn't show up on joint tax returns." After I hung up, I made another call to a man named Vincent Rowe, a private investigator I'd worked with 30 years ago on an embezzlement case. He was retired now, mostly, but he still took cases that interested him. "A cheating husband case," Vincent said when I explained, "with a hidden credit card, possible inheritance fraud, and a partner at a major accounting firm. Harold, you're making my retirement very exciting. Can you help? Give me 72 hours. I'll find out what Derek Ashford had for breakfast every day for the last 5 years. I gave him everything I had. Then I poured myself 2 fingers of Bourbon Doctor's orders, be damned, and sat in my recliner as the sun went down. I was 70 years old, and I was hunting a snake. The only question was, when I finally caught him, would I have the strength to do what needed to be done? Vincent Rowe called me exactly 71 hours after our first conversation. I was in my garage, sorting through boxes of Eleanor's old things, a task I'd been putting off for 3 years. Grief is strange that way. Sometimes it paralyzes you, and sometimes it pushes you to move, to do, to stay busy so the thoughts don't catch up. "Harold," Vincent said, and something in his tone made me set down the photo album I'd been holding. "You're going to want to sit down for this." I didn't sit. I leaned against Eleanor's old workbench and braced myself. "Tell me, your son-in-law is a piece of work. I've been doing this job for 40 years, and I thought I'd seen everything. But Derek Ashford," he let out a breath. "He's been running 2 lives for almost a decade, Harold. 2 complete, separate lives." My chest tightened. "What do you mean, 2 lives?" "I mean he has another family. A woman named Stephanie Novak, age 34, lives in a townhouse in Westerville. They have a daughter together. The girl's name is Emma. She's 6 years old." The world tilted. I grabbed the edge of the workbench to keep from falling. A daughter? Derek had another daughter. A 6-year-old child that my Christine knew nothing about. My grandsons had a half-sister they'd never met, never even knew existed. "Harold? You still there?" "I'm here," I managed. "Keep going." Vincent's voice was steady, professional, but I could hear the undercurrent of disgust. "I traced the credit card Rachel gave you. It's linked to an account at First National Bank. Opened in 2015. The account receives regular deposits from a trust, the Ashford Family Trust. Established by Derek's father, Gerald Ashford, before his death. The trust was valued at approximately $1.2 million at the time of Gerald's passing. Derek's been drawing from it ever since. $1.2 million. My son-in-law had been sitting on over $1 million that Christine didn't know existed. The townhouse in Westerville," Vincent continued, "was purchased in 2017 for $289,000. Paid in full, no mortgage. Title is in Stephanie Novak's name, but the funds came from the Ashford Trust. Derek visits 2 to 3 times a week. Usually on the nights, he tells Christine he's working late. The neighbors think he's Stephanie's husband. He parks his car in the garage, so it's not visible from the street." I closed my eyes. The details were precise, clinical, devastating. Each fact was a nail in a coffin I didn't want to build. "The daughter, Emma," Vincent said, his voice softening slightly. "I pulled her birth certificate. Father is listed as Derek Michael Ashford. He's not hiding from her, Harold. He's not some absent figure who sends checks. He's there for birthday parties, school plays, Sunday dinners. He's living a full life with this woman and this child, parallel to the one he has with your daughter." "How?" The word came out hoarse. "How has he kept this hidden for 6 years? Because he's smart and careful, and because people see what they want to see." Vincent paused. "Christine works from home, right? Runs that interior design consulting business?" "Yes. She set it up after Ethan was born so she could be with the kids. So she's not tracking his movements during the day. She's not calling his office to check if he's really there. She trusts him. And Derek exploits that trust with surgical precision." He's got 2 phones, 2 email accounts, 2 sets of credit cards. He's compartmentalized his life so completely that the 2 halves never touch. I thought of all the times Derek had kissed Christine goodbye in the morning, all the times he'd played catch with Lucas in the backyard, read bedtime stories to Ethan, sat across from me at Christmas dinner, and raised a glass to family. The man was a sociopath. There was no other explanation. There's more, Vincent said. More? How can there possibly be more? Rachel Vance wasn't lying about the new mistress. There's a 26-year-old named Amber Delgado, receptionist at Pemberton. Derek's been seeing her for about 4 months. Hotel rooms, expensive dinners, jewelry. The usual playbook. So Derek wasn't just betraying Christine with 1 woman, or even 2. He had Stephanie and Emma, his secret family, and he was still finding time to cheat on all of them with someone new. Does Stephanie know about Christine? I asked. I don't think she does. Not fully. She knows Derek is complicated, that he has obligations that keep him from being there full time. But I don't think she knows she's the other woman. She believes she's the real relationship, and Christine is just a legal formality he's trying to untangle. He told her that. Classic playbook for men like him. String everyone along with promises. Keep all the plates spinning. I felt sick. Physically, genuinely sick. I stumbled to the old lawn chair in the corner of the garage and sank into it, my head in my hands. Harold. Vincent's voice was gentler now. I've got documentation for everything: photographs, financial records, property deeds, the birth certificate. When you're ready, I can put together a full report. But you need to decide what you're going to do with this information. What was I going to do? The question echoed in my skull. My daughter's entire life was a lie. Her husband had another child, another woman, another home. Send me everything, I said finally. All of it, and then I'm going to figure out how to burn his world down without destroying my daughter in the process. The files arrived by secure email that evening. I printed them, all 347 pages of evidence, and spread them across my dining room table like a general planning a campaign. The photographs were the hardest to look at. Derek and Stephanie at a pumpkin patch with Emma. Derek pushing Emma on a swing set. Derek and Stephanie at what looked like a birthday party. A cake with 6 candles in front of a grinning little girl who had her father's eyes. Her father's eyes. The same eyes my grandson Lucas had inherited. I poured another, bourbon, and kept reading. The financial records were meticulous. The Ashford Family Trust had been valued at $1.2 million in 2016. Since then, Derek had withdrawn over $780,000, leaving a balance of roughly $420,000. The money had gone to the townhouse, to Stephanie's car, to Emma's private preschool, to vacations and jewelry. Meanwhile, Christine and Derek had taken out a mortgage on the lake house, citing cash flow considerations. He'd let my daughter go into debt while he sat on a fortune. But here's what caught my accountant's eye. The trust withdrawals didn't match the expenditures. Derek had taken out $780,000, but I could only account for about $610,000 in spending. That left $170,000 unaccounted for. Around midnight, I found it. A series of transfers to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands, made quarterly over the past 4 years. 12 transfers totaling $168,500. The account was in Derek's name only, hidden behind a shell company called Ashford Holdings, LLC. He wasn't just cheating on my daughter. He wasn't just maintaining a secret family. He was preparing an exit strategy, squirreling away money where Christine would never find it, where divorce lawyers couldn't touch it. He was planning to leave her with nothing. My phone buzzed. A text from Christine. "Dad, are you okay? You've been quiet. Call me tomorrow?" I typed back with trembling fingers. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just busy with some old paperwork. Talk soon. Love you." The lie tasted bitter, but it was necessary, because I wasn't ready yet. When I brought this to Christine, when I shattered her world, I needed to hand her a weapon, not just a wound. I picked up my phone and dialed Vincent. "It's late, Harold." "I know. I need another favor." "The Cayman account." "Ashford Holdings, LLC. I need to know if there's more money there and if he's planning to move it. That's going to require some creative investigation. I don't care what it takes. My daughter's entire financial future might depend on proving that account exists." "Give me a week," Vincent said. "And Harold? Be careful. Men like Derek, when they're cornered, they get dangerous." "I've been preparing for 70 years, I said. "I'm not going to stop now." I told myself I was just going to observe. That was the planned drive to Westerville. See the townhouse with my own eyes, confirm that Vincent's information was accurate, and go home. No confrontation, no drama, just reconnaissance. But plans have a way of falling apart when you're standing 20 feet from the woman your son-in-law has been living with for nearly a decade. It was a Saturday morning, 11 days after Rachel's phone call. The October air was crisp, carrying the smell of fallen leaves. I'd parked my Buick across the street from Stephanie Novak's townhouse, a modest but well-maintained unit in a quiet development. There was a small yard with a plastic swing set, a ceramic frog by the door, wind chimes hanging from the porch. It looked like a home, a real home, with a real family inside. I was about to leave when the front door opened. She was younger than I expected, 34, but she could have passed for late 20s. Dark hair in a ponytail, jeans, and an oversized sweater. She was holding a coffee cup and a leash. A small beagle mounted out beside her, and behind her, a little girl in a pink jacket. Emma. My grandson's half-sister. She had dark hair like her mother and Derek's chin, that same stubborn set to the jaw that Lucas had inherited. She was chattering about something. I couldn't hear the words, just the bright, excited rhythm of a child's voice. I should have driven away, but something made me get out of the car. Stephanie noticed me immediately. Her eyes narrowed. She pulled Emma closer. "Can I help you?" I hadn't prepared for this. The words came out before I could stop them. "You're Stephanie Novak." Her wariness sharpened into alarm. "Who are you? How do you know my name?" "Go inside, sweetheart," she told Emma. "Take Biscuit with you." Once the door closed, Stephanie turned back to me with fire in her eyes. I don't know who you are, but you need to leave. Right now. My name is Harold Whitmore, I said, and I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here because we've both been lied to by the same man. The color drained from her face. Derek, she whispered. You know my last name. You know who I am to him. She shook her head slowly, but it wasn't denial. It was the motion of someone whose world was crumbling. You're Christine's father. He's shown me pictures. He said you were difficult, that you never accepted him. Did he tell you he's been married to my daughter for 15 years? That they have 2 sons? That he goes home to them every night after he leaves you? He doesn't, her voice cracked. He stays at a hotel. He's been separated for years. They just haven't filed the paperwork. Stephanie. I said her name gently. He was at my daughter's house last night. I called at 9 o'clock, and he answered the phone. He told me Christine was giving the boys a bath. She stared at me. The coffee cup trembled in her hand. I'm not here to attack you, I continued. You're as much a victim as my daughter is. Derek has been lying to both of you for years. He has a wife, 2 sons, and at least 1 other woman on the side. He's been stealing from a family trust and hiding money offshore. The coffee cup slipped from her fingers and shattered on the pavement. Emma, she said, her voice hollow. Emma is his daughter. She calls him Daddy. She thinks, I know. I've seen the photographs. We ended up on her front porch steps, the broken cup forgotten. I told her everything: Rachel's phone call, the credit card statements, the trust fund, the offshore accounts. I showed her photographs of Derek at Christmas with Christine and the boys. Derek at Lucas's birthday party. She cried, quietly, steadily. Just tears streaming down her face as 6 years of her life revealed themselves to be fiction. He told me he loved me, she said, every single day. He said I was his future. He told a lot of people a lot of things. What are you going to do? Are you going to tell Christine? Yes, but not yet. I'm building a case first. When I tell her, I want to hand her evidence so airtight that Derek's only options are confession or ruin. And me? What happens to me and Emma? I considered the question. This woman had unknowingly participated in the destruction of my daughter's marriage, but she hadn't known. She'd been deceived as thoroughly as anyone. That depends on you, I said. You can help me, or you can stay silent. But if you warn him, he'll run. He'll take that offshore money and disappear, and your daughter will be left with nothing, just like mine. Stephanie's jaw tightened. Something fierce flashed in her eyes. He lied to my daughter. He made Emma believe she has a father who loves her. And now you're telling me he'll just abandon her? That's exactly what I'm telling you. She stood abruptly. What do you need from me? Everything. Every email, every text, every financial document. And I need you to keep acting normal until we're ready. You're asking me to pretend I don't know he's a monster. I'm asking you to help me destroy him properly. She looked back at the townhouse, at the window where Emma's silhouette was visible, still dancing to cartoon music. When she turned back, her eyes were dry. For her, Stephanie said, I'll do it for her. Because Emma deserves to know the truth about who her father really is. I shook her hand. Her grip was firm. Welcome to the team, Stephanie. We have a lot of work to do. Vincent called me the next evening with news that turned my blood to ice. Harold, we have a problem. A big one. The Cayman account isn't just a rainy day fund. It's an escape hatch. And Derek's planning to use it. Soon. How soon? He's been liquidating assets for the past month. Sold stocks 3 weeks ago, $85,000 worth. Transferred another $40,000 to the Cayman account last week. And yesterday, Vincent paused. Yesterday, he purchased a one-way ticket to Grand Cayman. Departure date, November 15th. November 15th. 18 days away. One way, I repeated. One way, no return. And he bought a second ticket. Same flight. The name on the booking is Amber Delgado, the receptionist, the 26-year-old mistress. Derek wasn't just planning to run. He was planning to run with his newest conquest. Leaving behind Christine, his sons, Stephanie, Emma, and everyone else who'd ever trusted him. What about the houses? He's been quietly shopping both properties to private buyers. No public listings, just discreet inquiries through a commercial broker who specializes in quick, confidential sales. I did the math. The Worthington house was worth $800,000. The lake house, $375,000. Combined with the offshore money and the trust, Derek would walk away with well over $1 million. Christine would be left with nothing but debt. Can he sell without Christine's consent? No. Both properties are in joint names. He'd need her signature. Vincent's voice darkened, which means he's planning to slip something into a stack of papers refinancing documents, insurance forms, and get her signature before she realizes what she's agreed to. 18 days. We had 18 days to stop him. What do we have evidence-wise? Vincent ran through the list. Hidden credit card statements, trust fund documentation, property records for Stephanie's townhouse, Emma's birth certificate, hotel receipts, the offshore account records, and the plane ticket's proof of premeditated abandonment. It's enough to destroy him in divorce court, Vincent said. But none of this matters if he disappears before Christine can file. Once he's in the Caymans, he's beyond Ohio courts. The money's gone, so we need to move first. You need to tell her, Harold. Tomorrow. She needs a lawyer, frozen accounts, an emergency motion. Every day you wait is a day Derek gets closer to the door. I closed my eyes. The moment I'd been dreading was finally here. There's one more thing, Vincent said quietly. Derek's father, Gerald, he didn't die of natural causes. Prescription drug overdose in 2016. Official ruling was accidental, but there was an investigation. Brief. Closed quickly. And guess who was the sole beneficiary? Guess who had access to his medications? Guess who was alone with him the night he died? The room seemed to spin. You're not saying? I'm not saying anything. Just telling you what the records show. Make of it what you will. After we hung up, I sat in silence. The grandfather clock ticked. Eleanor's photograph smiled at me from the mantelpiece. What would she do if she were here? I knew the answer. She'd tell me to stop stalling. She'd tell me Christine was stronger, than I gave her credit for. She'd tell me that protecting someone sometimes means hurting them with the truth. I picked up my phone. "Christine, I need to see you tomorrow. It's important. Come to the house around 2 p.m. Come alone. Don't tell Derek." Her response came within minutes. "Dad, you're scaring me. Is everything okay?" "I'm fine, but we need to talk. Face to face. Please trust me." "Okay, I'll be there." "I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you'll ever know." She arrived at 2:07 p.m. I watched her pull into the driveway from the living room. Window the same window where I'd watched her leave for prom, leave for college, leave for her wedding. She was wearing a casual sweater and jeans, looking every bit the suburban mom she'd become. She had no idea what was coming. "Dad, what's going on?" I led her to the living room, to Eleanor's old armchair. She sat, her eyes never leaving my face. "Christine," I said slowly, "what I'm about to tell you is going to be the hardest thing you've ever heard. And I need you to listen to all of it before you react." She nodded. Mute. Then I told her everything. I watched her face as I spoke, the disbelief, the confusion, the denial. When I showed her the photographs of Derek with Stephanie and Emma, something broke behind her eyes. The denial crumbled. And what emerged was something I'd never seen in my gentle daughter before. Rage. 6 years, she whispered. He's had another child for 6 years. Lucas was 5 when she was born. Derek was there when Lucas started kindergarten. And the whole time, "I'm so sorry, sweetheart." "Don't." The word came out sharp. "You didn't do this." "He did." She stood, pacing. "All those nights he said he was working late. All those conferences. I defended him to my friends. I told them he was building a future for our family." She laughed bitterly. "What a joke. There's more. The offshore account. The plane tickets. He's planning to run on November 15th with the receptionist. Leave you with nothing." She went completely still. "He's going to abandon Lucas and Ethan." "Yes." "How long do we have?" 12 days, maybe less." Christine turned to face me, and I saw Eleanor in her eyes, the steel, the determination. The woman who'd spent 15 years being the perfect supportive wife was gone. In her place stood someone harder, forged in the fire of betrayal. "Tell me everything we need to do to destroy him." We worked through the night. Christine called Margaret Shun, a family law attorney known for being ruthless in divorce proceedings. By 10 p.m., Margaret was at the house, reviewing the evidence. "This is extraordinary," she said. "In 20 years of practice, I've never seen documentation this comprehensive. Can we stop him?" Christine asked. "We can do better than that. Monday morning, I file an emergency motion. Immediate freeze on all joint accounts. Restraining order preventing property sales. Expedited hearing on asset concealment. And I'll file to freeze the trust fund and offshore account." "What about Stephanie?" "Her testimony corroborates everything. A unified front from both deceived women will be devastating. The judge will see a pattern of predatory behavior." Margaret paused. "There's one more thing. If we can prove he was planning to flee the jurisdiction, that's criminal fraud. We could involve law enforcement, Christine's eyes lit up. He could go to jail, possibly, and if authorities looked more closely at his father's death. Margaret trailed off meaningfully. Christine was silent for a moment. Then she stood and walked to the window. 15 years, she said softly. I gave him 15 years. 2 sons, my trust, my love, my future. None of it was real. She turned back. I want him to lose everything. His reputation, his career, his freedom. I want him to know what it feels like to have your entire life ripped away. Margaret smiled grimly. Then let's get to work. The Franklin County Courthouse sits on South High Street like a monument to consequence gray stone. Tall columns, the kind of building designed to remind you that actions have weight. I'd been inside those walls a handful of times over my career, usually for depositions. Never for anything like this. Christine and I arrived at 8:45 a.m. Margaret Chun was already there, her briefcase bulging with evidence binders. He's been served, Margaret said. My process server caught him at the office at 8:02 a.m., handed him the papers right in front of his assistant. How did he react? Went white as a sheet. Started making phone calls. He's scrambling for representation, but on short notice, he'll end up with whoever's available, not whoever's best. Good. For the first time, Derek was reacting instead of acting. Off balance. Exposed. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood-paneled walls, fluorescent lighting. We took our seats at the petitioner's table. Christine sat beside me, her back straight, wearing a simple navy dress, and her wedding ring, Margaret's. Advice to emphasize the vows Derek had broken. At 9:07 a.m., the doors opened. I'd expected Derek to look diminished, cornered, desperate. But even now, he couldn't abandon the performance. He strode in like he owned the place, chin high, that salesman's smile in place. His lawyer, a harried-looking man, clutching a thin folder, hurried behind him. Derek's eyes found Christine. He smiled at her, warm and reassuring, as if this were just a misunderstanding. Christine didn't smile back. She held his gaze for 3 seconds, her expression blank, then turned away. For the first time, I saw a crack in his composure. All rise. The Honorable Judge Patricia Okonkwo presiding. Judge Okonkwo was stern-faced, silver-streaked hair, reading glasses perched on her nose. 22 years on the family court bench. 0 tolerance for financial deception. This is an emergency motion in Ashford versus Ashford, she began. Petitioner is seeking asset freezes, restraining orders on property sales, and expedited discovery. Ms. Chun, proceed. Margaret spent 45 minutes methodically dismantling Derek's life. She started with the affair's Rachel's testimony, hotel receipts, credit card statements, photographs of Derek with Stephanie, Rachel, Amber, a timeline showing extramarital relationships spanning the entire marriage, then Stephanie and Emma. Your Honor, the respondent has maintained a second household for 8 years. A townhouse in Westerville purchased for $289,000 with funds from a hidden family trust. He has a 6-year-old daughter with this woman, a child whose birth certificate lists him as the father. I watched Derek's face. His smile was gone, replaced by something calculating. He was trying to figure out how much we knew, He had no idea. The most concerning evidence relates to asset concealment and flight risk. Margaret produced the offshore records. The respondent has secretly withdrawn funds from a $1.2 million family trust his wife knew nothing about. He's transferred $168,000 to an offshore Cayman Islands account. And 3 weeks ago, he purchased 2 one-way tickets to Grand Cayman, departing November 15th. The judge's eyebrows rose. One-way tickets. Yes, Your Honor. The second ticket is for Amber Delgado, a receptionist at his firm. We believe the respondent is planning to flee, abandoning his wife and minor children while absconding with marital assets. Derek's lawyer tried to interject. Your Honor, this is speculation. Counsel, you'll have your turn. Judge Okonkwo's voice was iced. Margaret concluded with Derek's attempts to sell both properties through private channels, without Christine's knowledge. In summary, Your Honor, serial infidelity, a secret second family, systematic asset concealment, flight preparations, and attempted property fraud. We request an immediate freeze on all accounts, restraining orders, passport surrender, and full forensic accounting. The judge turned to Derek's lawyer. Your response? The man stood, clearly rattled. My client denies these allegations. The relationships were private matters. The trust fund was separate property. The travel plans were for business, a business trip. The judge's voice was flat, one way, with his 26-year-old mistress. Your Honor, my client can explain. He can explain at the full hearing, which I'm scheduling for 3 weeks from today. Judge Okonkwo began writing. In the meantime, I'm granting the petitioner's emergency motions in full. Derek's face went gray, all joint accounts frozen. The respondent is prohibited from selling or encumbering any marital property. Passport surrendered by 5 p.m. today. Complete forensic audit of all accounts, including offshore holdings. She looked up at Derek with unmistakable contempt. Mr. Ashford, I've seen many people try to hide money from their spouses. I've rarely seen anything this systematic. If this evidence holds up, you're facing consequences far more serious than losing assets. She closed the folder. We're adjourned. Derek tried to approach Christine as we left. Christine, please, let me explain. It's not what it looks like. Don't. Her voice was steady, cold. Don't speak to me. Don't contact the boys. My lawyer will be in touch. I love you. Everything? I did for us. You have a 6-year-old daughter you hid from me for her entire life. You don't get to talk about love. She walked past him without looking back. I stayed behind for a moment. Derek looked at me, really looked, and I saw realization dawn. This was my doing. The investigation, the evidence, the ambush. The harmless old man he'd dismissed for 15 years had orchestrated his destruction. Harold, he said, hollow. You don't understand. No, Derek, you don't understand? I straightened my jacket. You had everything a wife who loved you, children who adored you, more money than most people ever see. And you threw it away because you thought you were smarter than everyone else. I met his eyes one final time. You were wrong. 6 months later, spring came early to Ohio that year. I sat on my porch with coffee regular now, not decaf watching crocuses. Pushed through the last patches of snow. Christine's car pulled into the driveway at 9:15 a.m. She'd been coming every Saturday since the divorce was finalized. Today she was alone, carrying bakery muffins and wearing a smile that still surprised me. She looked lighter, younger, like a weight had been lifted. "Morning, Dad. Brought your favorite." We sat in comfortable silence, watching a cardinal on the fence. "I heard from Margaret," she said eventually. "The forensic accountant's finished. Derek hid even more than we thought. Almost $2.3 million total. And the judge awarded me 70% of the marital estate, plus full restitution. The house is mine. College funds are secure." She paused. "Derek's partnership is gone. Pemberton forced him out. Last I heard, he's in a studio apartment, working at a small tax firm. The criminal case? Plea deal. 18 months suspended, 5 years probation. No trial," she shrugged. "Some things we'll never know for certain. But I've made my peace with it." "And the boys?" "Lucas is angry. The therapist says it's normal. Ethan's too young to understand." She paused. "We've met Emma twice now. Stephanie brought her to the park. She's a sweet kid. Confused, but sweet. Your mother would be proud of you for accepting my husband's secret child, for choosing compassion over bitterness." She took my hand, the same hand that had held hers when she was learning to walk. "I learned it from you," she said. "That evening, I opened the drawer where I kept things that mattered. Eleanor's ring. Christine's baby photograph. My father's 1987 Seiko watch. He'd given it to me the year Christine was born. Time is the only thing we can't get back, he'd said. Spend it on the people who matter." I clasped the watch around my wrist. It still kept perfect time. I called Christine one last time. "I've been thinking about selling the house. Something smaller, closer to you and the boys." "Dad," I heard her smile. "Are you saying you want to move to my neighborhood?" "I'm saying I want to spend whatever time I have left with people who matter. That's perfect." I walked to the window and watched the sunset. Somewhere, Derek Ashford was eating a microwave dinner in a cramped apartment. Somewhere, Stephanie was reading Emma a bedtime story. Somewhere, Rachel Vance was starting over Dot. And here, in this house full of memories, a 70-year-old man had learned it was never too late to protect the people you love. Eleanor's photograph smiled at me. "I kept my promise," I told her. "I took care of our girl." The grandfather clock chimed 8 times. I was 70 years old. I'd buried my wife, exposed my son-in-law, and watched my daughter rise from the ashes stronger than ever. Time was the only thing we couldn't get back. I intended to spend mine wisely.